Hello and good morning, everyone. This is Bogdan Kadzillo from TriStar. Today we're going to be taking a look at our webinar on Windchill 11 document management. I'll leave some time at the end for some questions if you have them. So if you do have those questions, feel free to type those into your message area in the GoToMeeting panel. So today what we'll go through is just how non-engineers can manage their documents inside Windchill. So typically we find in companies where engineering, the engineering department is using Windchill to manage their CAD files or to manage their BOMs or change processes. And of course other modules that Windchill allows you to manage things like quality, different types of BOMs for manufacturing, for service. And in terms of document management, there's been a lot of improvements in the Windchill releases since Windchill 10.1 and 10.2 that just allow people to get into Windchill and store their documents, so any electronic file, in one place, and get the benefits of version, lifecycle control, and history, and then of course access controls and life cycles. So what I'll go through today is just kind of describe what the what the mechanism includes to manage documents in Windchill. So we'll go through a bit of an overview. We'll talk about the desktop integration plugin that just allows the users to very easily upload and download documents from within Windchill to enable really a document management system. We're also going to take a look at some of the things that automate the sharing of documents, as well as things like release document approvals and making sure that only those who have access to download that document can do so, and others who cannot edit or modify the source document can just download a neutral file, and typically that is in the form of a PDF. We're also going to take a look at some of the apps that allow us to kind of create those PDFs of those documents, as well as watermark them. There's various watermarking options in Windchill. Then we're going to take a look at how we can search for those documents just using another interface called PTC Navigate View. Before I begin, I just want to remind everyone there's a central place right now on TriStar.com's TriStar's website, TriStar.com, where it includes the latest time-limited offers. So if you want to take advantage of some of these, there's some great savings. This is going to be updated frequently, so there might be new offers, coming out every quarter or multiple times per quarter. So there's a hyperlink here that I provided. Check that out, and click on each one of these to see the details. Okay, so now when we get into document management, why should we be storing documents in Windchill? Well, currently a lot of companies are storing documents outside of any kind of PDM, right? So whether that's on the network, some companies do have some basic PDMs like SharePoint, or some other kind of homegrown systems based on some SQL or Access database on the back end. But we find most of our customers who are not managing documents in a PDM are storing them either on networks or on their local folders. So documents end up in many locations. Obviously, it's difficult to understand the status of a document. If I'm the user who's the owner of that document, I can track my work fairly well. But others may need access to those documents, so it's very difficult for others to kind of understand, am I working on the latest document? Is this the only document for that specific design purpose? And then sometimes there may be multiple documents related to each other. It's difficult to manage those relationships, especially when there's a package of documents that I need to make sure that they get updated or released either to my customers or as part of that design. It's difficult to understand those relationships when the documents are scattered all over and there's multiple people working on those. And then of course, most of the time documents are printed out, shared among different users. It's very difficult to track that electronic file, especially if you're putting stamps or watermarks on those manually. They need to be printed out and then scanned back again into the system. So there may be some printing or paper costs involved, to kind of maintain all those documents. As an example, in the aerospace industry, the documentation required, sometimes outweighs the total weight of an aircraft. So in some industries, a lot of requirements to maintain documents and traceability. So what would Windchill give, the document management, in terms of document management? Well, it's a single source of truth. So when I upload my documents into Windchill, I can put them into folders that only that department has access to or that team of users has access to. But anyone involved with either looking at the document, working on the document, just goes to one place to find it. Windchill will also version and lifecycle control documents. So I can track the history of that document. And I can also go back and compare previous versions of the document, so whether it's a revision or the current version at its life cycle. And then of course, each of these locations or even documents can be protected through access controls. So if you want to protect some IP from, relevant to one department or relevant to one customer, then I can set up permissions based on either the document type or where that document is. So only those people allowed to, to see it will be able to do so. So examples are, proprietary, non-disclosure type of agreements, ITAR controls, other European, North American controls around those documents. Only those would have access to those documents. So one of the nice things in Windchill that once I decide to put documents into the system is that I can create something called document subtypes. That means from the administrator page, I can go in and access the type of documents that are out of the box. So there's about half a dozen of them, but also add my own. Each of these document types, Windchill calls these subtypes, can have their own attribute fields that people can type in, or they can have their own lifecycle schemes and workflows associated for routing purposes for reviews and approvals. So for example, I might have a testing document where if it needs to be released or completed, it will get routed to only a certain team, compared to another document, maybe some artwork files that might get routed to another department because they are responsible for those kind of documents. And each of these documents themselves can be distinguished by its own icon. So a lot of these documents, as soon as you go into Windchill and look at the appropriate documents you're interested in, you can visually distinguish them just by the icon, right? So if it's an electronic document, some kind of electronic spec, it's going to have a unique icon to it. So whether that content of that document is, a PDF, a Word file, some kind of software from your, logic controller or manufacturing toolpath software, or some kind of programmable software, any electronic content. That doesn't really matter what it is. You can still upload it, but classify it as part of the electronic spec collection, and those documents will be kind of shown with their own icon. So when I go into Windchill and I look at the existing documents, there's a column that's going to show me that document subtype, right? So what kind of document is it? There's also a column that's going to show me some of the common, there's a few dozen of these that Windchill recognizes, right? Some of the common document types. So if I upload, let's say, a Word file into my specifications subtype, then obviously I can download that file, look at it if I have Microsoft Word installed. Now, if you have some kind of a proprietary software, let's say some kind of machining software, and it's some type of machining G-code or toolpath software that you're storing that to, it will have an attachment, and you can still download it. And if you have that software installed on your local workstation, it's just going to open up that file directly because it's a native file that it recognizes. Others are just going to be able to see that file, and they won't have the software to open it, but they'll see that there's a content in there that's version controlled and lifecycle controlled. There's also another way of showing how documents are related, and that's through a document structure. So I might have a group of documents that are part of a package, that they're individual documents, but they are a group where I have them all associated together. So just like a CAD structure in Windchill, you can also associate documents together. You can associate documents to a master document, and in Windchill, it's going to give you a little icon in the table showing, what is the top document that's controlling a package or a structure, right? So if I click on that little icon, that column showing that document structure, it's going to take me to that actual document hierarchy, so I can see what are those related documents in Windchill. So how do we get documents into Windchill? There's multiple ways. One of the ways is just to go into Windchill, into the Windchill browser, and create new document. There's an option there. There's also the ability to create multiple documents at the same time, and there's also the ability to upload hundreds and thousands of documents at the same time with folder structures directly from a zip file. So if you have an existing folder of documents that there's a lot of them in there, you're not going to be doing it one by one. You can just zip up that folder and then upload that zip file into Windchill, and it'll unzip it for you and recreate all those documents and all those folder structures that you have in one of your Windchill contexts. Something neat that PTC kind of added in later versions of Windchill, especially in Windchill 10.2 M30 and Windchill 11, is the ability to just drag and drop documents onto one of these wizards. So one of the nice ways to upload documents is you don't even have to, in Windchill 11, create new document or pick that specific option. You can just pull up a Windchill page showing a folder, and then just go into your local system, into your either your desktop or your folder Windows Explorer browser, and just grab a group of documents or a document and just drag and drop onto that that folder website. It'll automatically recognize that you're trying to upload those documents into Windchill, and it'll give you a wizard that you can then confirm and then upload those documents. So it's a lot easier to work with. And for those of you who have been using document management in previous Windchill versions, all Java applet functionality is gone. So it's using native HTML5 web browser functionality to upload these documents and work with these documents. So Java is no longer required for any of this functionality. Another way to kind of interact with Windchill for uploading and downloading documents is using something called the desktop interface, or DTI. This is a plugin that I need to download from the Windchill server. So once you log into Windchill in the software downloads area, there's a plugin for the desktop integration component. Once that is installed on your local computer, Windchill then will become just another network folder inside Windows Explorer. And whatever you have, so you still have to log in through Windows, through Windows Explorer. That will determine your access and what you're able to see inside of the Windchill server. But then all of your products, libraries, projects, and all the folders within them will become visible, and you can navigate to each of those. And then drag and drop or double click on these files to interact with those documents. You're going to get columns that show you things like the version, the state of the document, the type of the document. If you define column table views in Windchill to kind of show maybe other columns based on some other attributes, you can reuse those table views directly in Windows Explorer now in Windchill 11. So you can kind of configure these columns and what is shown in them. If you right-click on a document or a group of documents, a Windchill menu is going to come up that allows you to interact with those documents. So depending on the permissions that the user has, you can check out, you can check in documents, you can revise, or bring up the revision toolbar, rename documents, other things like initiate promotion requests, and compare document versions together. This menu here is also customizable. So there's an XML file that's on the server. Well, there's a property file in the server and an XML file for this desktop integration plugin that you can also add additional menu options to this right-click menu. Not all of the options out of Windchill are available. There's a few common ones available that you can add. And we can also help you add any type of option out of Windchill. For example, I might want to initiate a change request or a change notice or a waiver or deviation against some of the documents, or maybe one of the quality actions like a non-conformance or CAPA item. So we can help you expose additional options through a configured app to work alongside the desktop integration. That desktop integration plugin will also put in menus inside of your Microsoft Office system. So if you have Microsoft Office installed, like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Outlook, this will actually add a Windchill ribbon inside of those applications. And once you open one of those from Windchill, that now becomes the application itself will become Windchill aware, and you can do things like a check-in or check-out directly from within one of those applications. Right? So if I'm working with documents, you can also create templates inside of Windchill that have some of these document types predefined, and then create new Windchill documents directly from those templates in Windchill. So I might have an Excel or a Word file template with some predefined fields in Windchill. Windchill also allows you to map its own fields into the documents themselves through the Microsoft Office quick parts or fields functionality. So that means I can actually put in some Windchill metadata about that document into the document itself. So I might have things like a document number, the document name or description, the revision, the version information, the lifecycle state of that document, who it's created by, who was it last modified or saved by, and what time that happened. Right? So some of these standard document fields can be put into the document, as well as any custom attributes that you define for your documents. So maybe some of your documents might have things like contract numbers customer numbers, work order numbers, sales order numbers, and things like that that document's applicable to. We can also map some of those custom properties into these documents, so they'll be tagged, with that Windchill information. So when they're printed, they're up to date with whatever exists in Windchill. So that's the Windchill functionality. I'm going to get into the software in just a few minutes. I do want to talk about some of the other components that help us work with those documents. And Windchill does include things like watermarking utilities and the ability to kind of mark up the Office document through a PDF format. To generate that PDF format, TriStar offers one of its apps called the Office PDF Worker. That is simply just the same as a CAD worker. As soon as someone opens up one of the Office documents into the system, Windchill will then create a PDF of that. So users who don't need to download the original content can just have the ability to download the PDF versions of that document, just for viewing purposes and printing purposes. Those PDFs can then be watermarked using the watermarking apps installed on the server, and those are highly configurable. There's also optional apps, for example, for documenting markups as part of a change process in that document through the printer app. The nice thing with that is it does not require additional software in terms of PDF software. So the Office Worker app is a CAD worker installed on your Windchill visualization, and this is just using Office installed on the workstation to generate those PDFs of those files. It does not require additional software to do that. It comes bundled with everything it needs. It does not require any kind of Adobe software at all. There's also the watermarking app that allows you to kind of configure what kind of watermarks are shown. You can also hard code watermarks into a PDF. So not only doing it through Creo View as the Windchill out-of-the-box functionality when it's printed, but also be able to hard code that into the PDF and then generate a PDF that has, let's say, the number and the revision in its file name. So then when you're taking out that PDF and sending it to your customers or suppliers, it becomes tagged with Windchill information and it's easily traced. Okay, so let me just quickly go into my system here. I'm going to log in and into Windchill 11. Okay, it looks like my server has went to sleep, so let me just reconnect again. So I'm going to log in with a username and password, and I'll go into one of the folders where I have my documents. So for this demo, I'm using Windchill 11 M20. Has a lot of nice improvements overall, as well as document management. So here I have a product. I also have a saved search just to filter and search for documents in my system. So I'm just looking at my main documents inside of my folder here. So let me get into that itself directly from that. Go into the documents folder. And here are my different documents in this folder. So I have a series of these. There are different subtypes shown here in the column. I have a specifications document with some information in it. I also have this one document which has a document structure. So if I go into that document itself and look at its structure, this one will show me all the related documents that I've attached or related to that document. Right? So through this structure, and this is only a one-level structure. I can have a multi-level structure where I have multiple document masters and then documents within some of those. So each of these are just PowerPoint presentations within that structure. But it's easy for me to see which documents are related as part of this package in this structure. Right? So I can add additional documents or remove documents from this structure at any time, and kind of maintain this as a package. If I want to, for example, upload a new document into the system, what I can do is go into my Windows Explorer, grab a document. So if I go into one of these folders, just grab a document. As soon as I drag and drop it onto the Windchill page, notice it kind of gives me an icon that, as soon as I do that, it will bring up the Create New Document wizard within Windchill. So I can select my document type. So maybe this is a, some reference document, and then fill out the fields of that reference document as necessary. So I can select any of these, press OK, and so I try it again. It should come up with some additional options. So okay, I think my browser is not cooperating with me, so I'll maybe use another browser to do that later on. What I'll do here is first, if I want to edit one of these documents, so let me go back into that folder, I can just click on that little Word icon. That will allow me to open that document directly out of Windchill. So I'm going to open this document either as a read-only format, or if I have the desktop integration plugin, I can just upload that document and open it directly. Yes, I'll say open. And that's going to open it directly with that application, in my case, Word. And then it's going to be Windchill aware, so it presents me options for, do I want to check this document out from Windchill? If I want to work on it, I'll probably say yes. In my case, I'll say no for now. But notice inside of my Word document, I have a Windchill tab that lets me interact with my server. Now, I've already logged in, so I have the active server selected. If I wasn't logged in, it would ask me for a username and password. Notice also in this document, I have a field that shows me my Windchill part number. So if I go back into Windchill, this is a 27 number, sequentially numbered document. If I go into my Word document, notice it's showing the same number. And it's showing, for example, the latest document version and so on. So if I do want to check this out and edit something, not sure why that's doing that. Let me try it again. So I'm going to edit that document, and I'll check it out. Just edit something on it, and make some changes and put it back into Windchill. Also, when I close that document, there's a preference that just automatically, if that document's been downloading somewhere on my drive, it automatically sends it to the recycle bin. Right? So I can keep that document inside of Windchill. I'm not sure what that is. I can keep that document inside of my local folder and then keep working on it and keep checking out of Windchill. But I can also send it to recycle bin when I'm done working with it. Right? So I don't have these documents inside of Windchill anymore. Another way to access this, and just for time purposes, I'm going to go into my Windows Explorer. Another way to access these documents is just through Windows Explorer. So here, when I go into my computer browser, there's an option to go into Windchill documents. And this is where I'll disconnect from the server and I'll reconnect again by putting in my username and password. And this will expose that Windchill server. In my case, I have 2 servers registered. I'll go into one of these. And then I have that same information in Windchill, so those same documents, but now looking at it through Windows Explorer. And again, I can double click on one of those documents to just open it and start working on it. So if I say, let's check out that document from Windchill. Notice in the Windchill tab, I can, go back and do a check-in. If I go back into Windows Explorer and refresh my page, notice now that document is being checked out. And if I make some changes to it and check it back in, in my case, I'll just do a simple change and then do a check-in. That will just allow me to put in some change tracking comments, why I made that change, and notice my default option is to send that to the recycle bin immediately. I won't put any comment, I'll just check that back in. Right, so my document gets checked in, it gets closed out of Word. If I go back into Windchill, refresh my document, now it's at A.3. Right, so if I double click on that document again and someone is going to want to look at it, work with it, this field, notice here, the document version automatically updates to A.3, right, because that's the one that I've changed in Windchill, or Windchill changed that for me when I checked it in. So I'm always looking at, all the latest metadata from Windchill inside of this document. And the nice thing here, I'll just finish this off and then I'll take some questions, is I can also drag and drop documents out of Windchill from Windows Explorer. So for example, if I go into my local folders and grab a file or a group of files, I can just drag and drop that file into a Windchill folder directly just through Windows Explorer. Right, so maybe this is another specification document. When I press OK, that just starts uploading that document into my server. So here's another specification document that I just uploaded. It's version controlled, lifecycle controlled. If I go back into the Windchill folders just through the web browser, if users are browsing that way, they will see that document inside of Windchill also through the web browser. So there's the new specification document I've uploaded. Okay, so that is the document management functionality inside of Windchill. Windchill 11 does include additional functionality for Windows desktop integration in the right-click menu, and it's becoming quicker to work with. So at this point, thanks for your time. I'll take some questions, some last questions while we have some time remaining here. I have some questions here in the queue. Is the Java gone with Windchill 11? Yes. So for documents, PTC replaced Java in Windchill 10.2 M30. In 10.2 M30, and of course any later versions like Windchill 11, there is no more Java necessary for either the desktop integration or to upload or download documents through the web browser in Windchill. And the DTI does not require Java either. It's a Microsoft it's a Microsoft plugin that gets installed into your local system. Another question, is Java, so no Java required? Yes, no Java required for DTI. Can I upload CAD documents like NX or CATIA into Windchill? So if you treat those CAD documents as regular documents, right? So if you don't have the workgroup manager for those CAD files, then yes, you can upload those CAD files as documents into Windchill. The only drawback is that if there's relationships between parts and assemblies or drawings, Windchill will not understand those if you just upload those as regular documents. So it's great for AutoCAD files. It's great for kind of simpler reference kind of files. But if you want to recreate an assembly structure, part-to-part references in Windchill, I would not recommend doing that manually as documents for those CAD files. I would just use the workgroup manager. But if you have a customer, a customer package of CAD documents that you want to store in Windchill, you can definitely upload those as documents. Create your own document subtype called CATIA files or something, or customer package CAD, metadata, math data, whatever that's called. You can definitely put that in as document types. Another question, what are the supported browsers for DTI? Well, DTI is not a browser-based plugin, so it's browser independent. If you want to upload documents just dragging and dropping to a Windchill page, then one of the later browsers that supports HTML5 is required. So things like Internet Explorer 11, the later versions of Firefox, later versions of Google Chrome are required. Older versions don't have that support for HTML5. Is Visio one of the plugins that works with the desktop interface? No. So today Visio is not available. So it's only Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook, your email browser. Microsoft Project also not available for desktop integration. Yes, this presentation will be available. I'm recording it, so you can watch it later on and play it back. If you would like this PowerPoint presentation that I have, feel free to I don't know how you can request it. Feel free to contact your TriStar sales representative, and I'll be sure to forward this PowerPoint to you as well if that's required. But this presentation is recorded, so you should have it in there. Another question, is the watermarking app from PTC Navigate? Can this work in 10.2? Yeah, I'm not sure clearly what that's asking, but if you're asking whether the watermarking app is the actual Navigate software, no. So Windchill has basic watermarking functionality. This allows you to create watermarks or create the watermark and show it in Creo view. So when you're opening the document, like a CAD document or a PDF, you can see the or a CAD drawing plot file, you can see the watermark on top of it, but only inside Creo view. As soon as you export out that PDF, download it, the watermark is not in there. So the PTC technology requires the Adobe Lifecycle Server software, which is able to do watermarking. To do that inside of a PDF, to hard code it, TriStar has a software that does this at a fraction of the cost. It's called the watermarking app that can hard code watermarks into the PDF as well. Navigate itself, it's that interface that allows you to download documents and those associated PDFs which already have watermarks in them. So it can be used as an additional user interface for people to download documents as well as CAD files, neutral files, and so on. Can all of this that I show work in Windchill 10.2, 10.1? Absolutely. Yeah. So, the watermarking app, the Office Worker app, and this document management functionality, all of that can also work in 10.2. So you don't necessarily have to upgrade to 11. 11 is just making it easier for you. In terms of removing Java functionality, in terms of just making it, a few clicks, just drag and drop. But it can definitely work with a few more clicks in 10.2 as well. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so I want to thank you all for your time today. This presentation will be up on our website in a day or two. And hopefully you found this useful. And again, thanks for your time, and have a great day, everyone.